Well, welcome everybody. I'm here today with Patty Lewis. She has some uh, pre-life memories from since she was a kid. So I'll let Patty go ahead and tell us about
Yes.
her memories.
Hi, my name is Patty Lewis. I am 60 years old and I am from Indiana, born and raised. Um, I have a story that nobody's ever believed, and it's about my memories of before I was born. And I, I remember my earliest memories, like my first memories of knowing that I had been in this room with a couple of other beings, and we were going over my plans for this life. And we talked about things like what I was going to look like. And um, one of the first things that we decided on was going to be my hair color. I was given the options of my different hair colors. And I asked, well, which one do people like the best? And they said blondes. They really like blondes. And I said, okay, I'll be a blonde. And then they said, how pretty do you want to be? Do you want to be beautiful? And I was like, well, what would that look like for me? And they told me that it was going to be um, a lot of unwanted attention, and that it would just make things a little bit more difficult for me, that everybody would be like judging me, um and it was just something that I didn't want, that kind of attention on me. So we backed it off and decided that I would just be pretty with blonde hair. And we talked about intelligence, and I was explained that you could be really, really book smart, or you could be really more creative and street smart. And I asked, well, which one would I do better with? And they said, creativity and street smarts is probably going to get you better, is going to do you better. So we decided on that. And so I have realized that I have to really work on my intuition, go with that gut feeling, um, and that um, the creativity part I very much enjoy. I love working in gardens with flowers, landscaping, up with those plans and all. And I find that it brings me a lot of happiness. I had also decided that I would go into cosmetology. That would be a way for me to use my creativity as well, and it has served me very well for almost 43 years. Um, the other stuff in that those memories was that I also remember it was mainly the two beings with me. And I was in a room that didn't have like four walls, a ceiling, and everything. It was more slender, it was all curves and no straight angles. And I remember I spent all of my time that I can remember standing in front of like this pedestal thing that came up, and there was this disc there that I kind of describe it as a looking glass. And all of my information was on there. And so we were making all of these agreements according to what was being presented to me on this screen. Um, I remember being impatient. I have worked on this for so long. when will it finally be over? Um, so uh they told me I had a lot more to go, that I was only halfway through it. And I was like, can't you just make the rest of the decisions for me? I am ready to go. And they were like, no, no, these are decisions you have to make. And I was growing more and more impatient. And I remember just like, whatever, just check these boxes and let's move on. Let's go. And they had to slow me down a lot. Um, to, take my time and take it more seriously. Um, and I tried. I was serious all the way up until after we decided on what I was going to look like. And um, I remember there was a third being that was a bigger present than the other two and I. This one here, he would come in and check on how things were going. And when he would come in, this other being, there would be other people with him or other souls, other beings. And um, I remember there being agreements with these other ones. But I don't remember exactly what those agreements were. I just remember that collectively we all agreed that they were going to be part of this soul contract, this plan that was being made for me here on earth. Um, and I also remember there was times when they were trying to get me to slow down and to take things more seriously. I remember them saying that it, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. There's going to be a lot of challenges in front of you. And I just had that attitude. I don't care. I can do this. I can do this. It's just a short time that I'm going to be there. And when you think about eternity and you think about our time here on earth, it is a very short time. And I think that's why I was like, it doesn't matter. Let's just get the show on the road. And they kept having to slow me down. And they kept telling me how hard it was going to be. And you just don't realize it until you're here and how hard life here on earth was going to be. And so, from my earliest memories, as soon as I could start stringing sentences together and putting something together, to start talking to my mom about it. And I would tell her how I remember before coming to earth that I had made this agreement, that I had been with these other beings that was helping me decide what I was going to look like. And of course, coming from someone that little, that tiny, mom didn't believe me.
Right.
And I was insistent. Yes, it did happen. I do remember. And she was like, you dreamt it. That's a big imagination. And I'm kept insisting, I did not dream this. I remember. I know this happened. And I would try to describe to her about looking, what I was going to look like and all of that. And I would let it go for a while. And these memories were always there. So later, when I got a little bit bigger, not much, I would talk about it again and the same thing. No, you didn't, and all of that. And so it was very frustrating that my mommy doesn't believe me, and I know it happened. And I don't think she ever did believe me. Um, I remember trying to tell other people, And I did not get far with them either. And they
Right.
did not believe me at all. And I started to realize that it just wasn't safe for me to talk about because of what it was doing to me as far as um I just put myself out there vulnerable, and I did not enjoy that at all. So every once in a while I would try to bring it up to mom, and she still would not believe me. Nobody did. Nobody. And so, I had grown up, and every once in a while when I'd be hanging out with my teenage friends, we'd just be laughing and stuff, and I'd bring it up, but I never did it really seriously because I didn't want the same rejection
Right.
or that fear of, you know, losing friends because they think I'm crazy. And so I just always presented it as just fun and joking, and they just laugh. And later in life, I got married, and I never did tell my husband ever. I didn't. I knew he wouldn't believe me either.
Right.
And I have always kept it to myself as an adult. Um, and then back in September, I had connected with a family member that I really didn't know. She was a cousin, and I just really didn't know her that well, but she had gotten into being a practitioner for QHHT. And so I volunteered to be one of her volunteers to practice on. And I started to tell her, she was like, Do you have any questions? And I said, Yes, I want to know about this memory from my earliest memories. I want to know what that was about. And I told her, and she went dead silent. And I was like, See, nobody believes me. She goes, No, that's not true. I believe every word of you. She said that the woman that developed QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis therapy, and she said Dolores Cannon talks about it, that everybody does it. No matter who you are, you do make this contract. It is called a soul contract.
Right.
And so that's the first time I'd ever heard a name to it, and that my memories are real. I don't know to this day exactly why I was allowed to remember any of it, because when I was growing up, when I was little, trying to tell my mom and other people about this, I just was surprised that, well, don't you remember? I thought everybody remembered. It just to me, it was like, yeah, sure, everybody does it. Why doesn't anybody remember? Why am I the only one? And I just had to quit talking about it. But now that I know there's a name and that it is true, I started to get a little bit more brave and started telling some people about it. And guess what? They don't believe me still, and I still get that look of, is she okay? Is she losing it? Um, that's pretty wild. Yeah. And so for me to do this interview was a little bit scary for me because I'm
Right.
putting that story out there on the internet. And I really feel like this time it's a different, though, because it does have a name. And I am hoping that when people watch this, they'll be like, I didn't have a near death experience either. And I remember mine as well.
Right.
And that's a community that I would like to connect with, that they just remember from their earliest memories. Um, my own children, I just got brave enough here in the past few months to even talk to them about it.
Okay.
And guess what? They don't believe me either. But that's okay. That's
Right.
okay. This is my story.
Okay.
I've never wavered from it. The memories are as clear today as they were from being teeny tiny. Um, and so I know there's another, that there is a community out there that remembers theirs from
Right.
being really little too, and that's a community I would like to connect with.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have the same kind of
Um,
memories. Well, can I ask you a couple questions about your
yeah,
memories?
but yeah, yeah,
Um, so you talked about these what I would call guides that were working with you to plan your life. Can you describe what they looked like?
yes. I never got a clear vision memory of what they look like, but they were very present, and there was two of them on my left side. I also knew that there was a door to my left and behind me, and that's where the bigger presence would come in with the others to check on me and to further these agreements.
Right.
But I remember their presence, but I never I don't know if I did actually see them, and that was a part that they didn't want me to remember at the time, at least. Um, but but they were very real.
Okay. Um, do you remember any plans with other people? Like making arrangements with other souls about how your lives would cross over and interact during your life?
I don't really remember a lot about that. I just remember that this bigger being was bringing in lots, and it was happening a lot. It was like that revolving door of these other souls, or
Right.
being, whoever these people were going to be. I remember at one point that there was a group of them, and when I think about that, that was probably my siblings. Um, and and I remember there being others, like two or three at a time would come in. And every once in a while there'd be a group. Um,
Okay.
and I just remember that we all agreed that the roles that we were going to play in each other's lives.
Right.
And I remember being okay with it.
Okay. Do you remember anything about past lives and how maybe past lives might have affected what you're doing in this life?
You know, I I remember telling my mom that my name is not Patricia, it's not Patty. Um, and that I did not like my name. Um, and I was very clear about that. I do not like my name. That's not my name. And she would ask me, well, then what's your name? And I would be like, I don't know what my name is. I just know it's not this.
Right.
And she said, well, what do you want your name to be? Drew a blank. I didn't know. I never came up with anything else. So I was stuck with Patty.
Okay.
um, so as far as past lives go, you know, as far as past lives go, I think there had to be past lives that, because I knew My name's not Patty, and
Right.
I don't like it. And so I think that is about the closest that I can come to remembering a past life. I did continue on with this family member on doing QHHT, past life regressions. And it goes all the way back to ancient Egypt. Um, I remember that I was at this place, and I won't get into all of that,
Mhm.
but I do remember um, I was getting ready to leave this place, and I heard a voice say, "Turn around and look at me." And I was like, "Hold on, somebody wants me to turn around and look at them." And I turned around and I saw this woman, and um, the way she was looking at me, in her eyes, her whole face, everything was just kind of like just staring straight into me. And that's when I was showered and overcome by a profound love that I can only describe as divine. Um, and so that's, I'll never forget her face. I'll never forget that feeling, even though I long for that feeling again, because it's a love that you'll never experience here because it is divine. And the message for me on that was that love is the root, it is the anchor, and that through love, you're going to find your way. And my practitioner asked, why did you show Patty this life? And they said because she needs to know about this life, and she needs to know a lot about it because she's going to need it when the time comes.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens when the time comes, but the message is very clear that love is the root and the anchor, and that one
Right.
day we will be washed and overcome with that love again.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's all I know about past lives for me.
All right. Yeah, you mentioned a couple things that remind me of my own life planning experience that I learned about during my near-death experience. One was you described, picking your level of attractiveness that you backed it off, and I kind of remember that, like that exact feeling. Like I wanted to be super attractive, but I kind of like, backed it off, just like you said. It felt just like that. Another thing is the impatience. I kind of remember all these different decisions about my life, and some of these decisions would affect like my entire life. But I remember like I could have like taken more effort to fine tune some of these decisions, but I was kind of like impatient. Like it, even though it would affect my entire life, it's like the effort to tweak it or change it to perfect it more. It's like I just wanted to go ahead and get it over with, so I didn't want to put forth that effort to tweak these
Yeah,
decisions. So I kind of remember that. It's interesting.
yeah. And looking back, I wish I would have been a little bit more patient to
Yeah.
fine tune some of these things. I think it could have helped on some hardships.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Agreed.
but that's okay. I'm doing great. Uh,
You're right.
you know, uh, Life is challenging for everybody,
Yeah.
and we have our ups and we have our downs, but we always come out of it, don't we?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody will make it through it.
Um, yeah, yeah, we do, don't we?
Yeah.
Um,
All
and
right.
so
Yeah. So do you have any other messages you want to share with everybody? Anything you want to mention?
yeah, there was another thing that my mom never believed me about when I was little. I was a little bit older, but I was still like before kindergarten. And I remember waking up and I'm sitting at my little table, the little children tea table that's in my bedroom. And I remember sitting there and I was with three beans. And at first it was okay, but they wouldn't leave me alone. They kept coming like every night. And then they started to upset me. And so I started like vomiting in my bedroom. And I'd go in, wake my mom up, tell her what happened. And she never believed me. And she'd put me back to bed. And then she would see vomit everywhere. And this went on for quite a while, but I was never sick. And to the point she was getting very concerned about how sick I was in the middle of the night, but I was fine during the day. And I kept trying to tell her what was going on. And she finally told me because it was getting so bad. And she told me, well, the next time they show up, just tell them to stop coming. So I did. And they were so disappointed. There was three of them, and they were very, very disappointed. And well, my mom realized I wasn't throwing up anymore. I wasn't vomiting all over the place anymore. And she asked me, she said, are they still coming to you in the night? And I said, not anymore. She said, well, what made them stop? And I said, I told them what you said, to not come here anymore. It was upsetting me and making me very sick. And she was like, okay. And I never got sick anymore. But my childhood friend of still to this day of 55 years, every once in a while she'll bring it up. What a mystery it was and how concerned everybody was. And so I do think that my mom ended up believing me about that. Um, I don't know why they were coming. I think it was so that I could fine tune that. Um, and I also think that my impatience during that contract um, followed me into this life. I just want results. I just let's get this on the move here. I
Right.
still have that attitude.
Okay.
And so just trying to live in the present and and not try to get ahead of myself so much because of being so impatient. Um and so, I think that my message in telling my story is that you're not crazy. It really does happen. It's Everybody goes through it, whether you remember it or not. There's a reason why our memories are wiped out before we come here, because Earth is like a school and you just can't go to class and know the answer to all of the questions. You know all the answers to the test, and so you're not going to learn. And
Right.
that is why our memories are wiped out, because we're not going to learn if we already know the answers, and we got to figure it out for ourselves. And Earth School is the hardest school in the universe. It is. Um, and that um, that my message is that love is the answer to everything. There's three waves of volunteers that come in, and I know that I'm in the first wave. Is for people right now that are between the ages of like 45 and the early 60s. I'm right in there. We are paving the way for the second wave, and the second wave is helping the first wave pave that path for the third wave, which is started to be born in 2020. And that we have to make space and room for these children with their creativity and give them that space to learn on their own terms. Um, I think that's really important. Um, the first wave is so difficult because it's never been done before. And we don't have a roadmap. We are the ones that were, the pioneers, that trailblazer for the other waves to come through. And so I have accepted that, and that, hey, I set this up in that contract. I did volunteer for this. And I was really excited about it. And then I got here and I thought, why was I so excited? It's so hard. Nobody believes me. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. And so you just learn to protect yourself. And I'm done with that.
Right.
And I'm so glad to get my story out there.
Good.
And my message is that, if you have these memories from your earliest memories, please reach out to me. I am on Facebook. I do live in Bloomington, Indiana, and it's Patty with a Y. So it's Patty Lewis, Lewis. You can send me something on Messenger, and I will keep an eye out for you. My whole life, I've been looking for other people like me. I know I can't be the only one. And it's been confirmed now that I'm not. We all go
Right.
through this. And I would love to talk to you if you have these memories as well. I do have a picture up that you'll recognize me. It's not a picture of my dog, and you'll be like, I wonder if that's her. So I do have a picture up of me to where you can clearly recognize me. And I would love to hear from you. And, I never dreamt in a million years I'd be given this platform to tell my story. I did find you on near death experience. And when you were talking about your memory of what you were shown was dead on,
Right.
dead on to everything I remember, and I could not wait to reach out to you. So I want to thank you for giving me this platform and the space for me to tell my story,
Of
because
course.
I have been looking for this my whole life.
Well,
And
thank
I
you. Thank you
know
for
that
sharing your
one
experience.
day it
Story.
will be revealed to me.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And I know one day it'll be revealed to me why exactly I got to remember. And now that I'm understanding more about first waves and all of the three waves of volunteers, that it does help me realize that there's a strong possibility I was allowed to remember, because the first wave is like the lighthouse for all of those ships out there wandering around looking. And so if I did not have these memories, I wouldn't be talking to you today, and I would
Right.
just be wandering around lost. And so I'm starting to think that maybe that's why I got to remember it. And it's been a journey. Life is a journey.
Yeah.
So make the best of it. Learn as much as you can. And find your passion, find your excitement, and take it as far as you can. Learn as much as you can about that excitement. Take it as far as you can until you can take it no farther, and with, this is key, with no expectations of the outcome. And it will be exciting. And then you'll just move on to the next thing you're excited about. So life can be exciting, and just enjoy the ride.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Patty. I appreciate you sharing your memories, and I think it's great that you have some of the same memories that I do, but we obtained them in different ways, and that's kind of cool. But I'm running out of time here. Zoom's about to kick me off. So anyway, I appreciate you sharing with us
Yes,
today. And if people do contact you, send me a message. Let me know. I'd like to hear about it.
I will. I'll keep you updated. Thank you so much, Aaron.
All right. Thank you, Patty.